applaud you as a judge, like the work that you are doing.
Okay, thank you. Well, the types of cases that I preside over are run the gamut of less than a gram all the way to capital murder trials.
Wow.
Two of my capital murders.
Less than a gram on which?
Less than a gram.
On any drug?
Possession of controlled substance. It could be methamphetamine, cocaine, and all the way to capital murders.
Wow.
And two of my capital murder trials have been featured on First 48 Hours.
Oh, wow.
And I have been the presiding judge of this bench for 8 years. And before that, I was a municipal court judge. So I've been a judge a total of 13 years.
Wow.
And just as you stated, this year is very, very important. We are at a crossroads right now, and we've had a larger turnout this year for early voting, which usually it tends to favor the Democrats, the higher the turnout. So
and
we'll
I
see
guess
what's going to happen.
Yes, we will. And I guess with that news, the Donald Trump campaign has, they want to start spreading the lies. Hey, it's rigged. There's some voter fraud going on. We should just end the election. They should just give it to me. Let's just end it. Trust me. No one else is going to run this country like me. Believe me when I say no one. Okay? So
Perfect.
I'm just like this whole thing has left me incredulous. I can't believe that we are at the point of where we are when it comes to choosing between someone who is not even a politician to someone who has devoted her entire life to these things. I understand, you may not have the affection for Hillary like you did President Obama, but look at the other option.
The funny thing is that I got a chance to meet Hillary Clinton last year when she participated for the Barbara Jordan's Endeavors award last year. TSU, yeah.
Yep.
And originally I just remember being like, so gung-ho Hillary, so gung-ho Hillary. And then Bernie comes out and then I'm so Bernie, so Bernie. And then Donald Trump comes out, and it's like you got Donald Trump who has no international relations experience, no experience truthfully, and I really don't want to say he has experience in business because as many bankruptcies that he's had, right. The only thing that hasn't run to the ground yet is the Trump Tower at this point. I can't understand how people can feasibly be willing to vote for somebody who gets on a microphone and says the things that he says. And then with his track record, you can see the failures, you can see the lies. Even conservatives who are right beside him or supposed to be supporting him apparently are opposing him. And yet people still want to vote for him. I'm really scared. I'm horribly scared. I looked at New York Post this morning, and they actually had Hillary and Trump really not that far behind each other. Hillary with about 48% of the vote, and Trump with a similar amount, around 42%. Scary, scary, scary stuff. Terrifyingly scary.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's speaking to people who are really hurting out there. I was like, I haven't heard him say anything about black folks. Besides that, we are in the worst conditions ever.
Well, he
ever. They're the worst conditions ever.
Right.
Okay? I'm like, really? Worse than slavery?
Yeah, the inner city, apparently black and inner city are synonymous. Poor and black are synonymous. And the blacks, I'm sorry, all those things are synonymous. Yeah. Or the African Americans.
Absolutely unbelievable. Another thing that has come out today, Friday evening, they are reopening, the FBI has come out and said that they're going to reopen the Hillary Clinton email thing. But here's the thing. The emails that they found didn't come from her private server and didn't have anything to do with the previous investigation with Benghazi. So I don't understand why the FBI director felt that he needed to come out and say this, especially if it had nothing to do with what you were investigating in the beginning, which you came out over the summer and said that there was nothing there. Judge, can you speak to his way of thinking?
I really don't understand it. And just what you just stated, he's getting ready to open up an investigation and investigate her new emails that have come out. And are these the emails that came out from WikiLeaks?
They haven't specified the source of the emails. They haven't said how many or anything.
I actually
Anthony Weiner.
I was going to actually
Anthony
disagree.
Weiner.
So
Yeah,
WikiLeaks has been, I guess, pushing out emails from time to time throughout the last couple of weeks, which they posted on Twitter that they would. In addition to that, it's such a convenient time, being that we're 11 days from Election Day, right?
Yeah.
So Anthony Weiner apparently has some scandal with the 15-year-old, and they go into his email to investigate that situation with this teenager from North Carolina. And what they find is that there are thousands of emails that are pertaining to Hillary Clinton and this old scandal. But it's so weird because the FBI agent literally came out and said, oh, maybe she was a little irresponsible this year, and then brushed it under the rug. And now he's saying, oh, these things that have absolutely nothing to do with her, but everything to do with Anthony Weiner, are now a subject of conversation for Hillary Clinton. I think it's way too convenient. And then Donald Trump comes and he chimes in once again and goes, yeah, you know what? This is fraud. The FBI was a fraud. And so now he's saying, I'm in so much approval of the FBI. The FBI, they're such a good entity now that they're going to be, I guess, addressing the Hillary Clinton scandal.
Right.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah, but over the summer, he was just a turncoat.
In perspective,
Right. And so now he's honorable.
Earlier, like when the FBI said dropped the charges, said they weren't going to continue on, like we trusted that opinion, right? Mm-hmm. And now that they're reopening, and we don't really know the details of what they found or anything, but now that the reopening is like, there's something fishy up. Right, with the FBI now, with the same that the other side was saying that there was something fishy about them not pursuing charges. So we can't have it both ways, right? It's either we agree with the FBI or we don't agree with the FBI. But I think us as Americans, we just need to step back and look at things in the full picture. Perspective is everything. You know what I mean? And we grow up with these, perspectives of how things are and how things run. And then especially through, K through 12, right? And you go to college and it's like, oh, wait a minute, Santa Claus isn't real. You know what I mean? And a lot of things that we were taught through grade school, we find out that, it wasn't completely true, or there's different variations of those stories.
Listen
He
here.
is so nice. Right?
Everything was a lie. Everything was a lie. Okay, I watched the incredible documentary produced and directed by Ava DuVernay on Netflix called 13th. Has anyone seen it?
Haven't seen it yet.
I saw about half of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw about half.
Not only through my me just being more aware and educated of this country's history, right, from the things that we were taught in elementary, junior high, and high school, and even college for that matter. On my own discovery, self-educating myself, my view of this country had turned. Mm-hmm. After watching this documentary, my view of this country is I'm looking at America sideways, like, America, you are a messy little lady, America. You know what I mean? America is that woman who got beat by her rich white husband and then tell the police that it was a black man. That is America. So after watching 13th, knowing that everything that was put into place was specifically designed to keep us Africans in America down and oppressed, it just blew me away. From the whole Law and Order with who was it? Nixon, was it?
Right.
Up until this very moment, with how the justice system is so against blacks and poor people, and it hurt my heart to know that these stuff was systematically placed to keep us down.
KG, I have something to say about that. Right now, we have 75% of African American population in prison. Mm-hmm. As a judge, I am not supposed to render my opinion.
Sure.
But there is a law.
But say what you can.
Well, there is a law that less than a gram.
Uh-huh.
When someone is convicted of less than a gram, they automatically become ineligible for educational grants, housing grants, and as I stated earlier, they're labeled as a felon. Who usually gets the case, picks up the cases and charged with less than a gram?
Ooh, me.
Please answer.
Black folks.
Okay. Minorities.
Minorities.
just say
Minorities. Yes. Black and minorities.
And DWIs. Your first DWI is a misdemeanor. Your second DWI is a misdemeanor. Your third becomes a felony, which then enters into my court. That is how I would like to see less than a gram's sentenced. And I believe if that law was changed today, that would reduce our jail overcrowdedness right now.
Yeah.
It would help the minority population because when they're labeled as a felon, it's hard for them to get a job. It's hard for them. With this particular law, conviction of less than a gram, I don't know, but I think that this might be the only one where if you are convicted of less than a gram, this is the only law where you become ineligible for housing grants and educational funding. So it becomes a perpetuating cycle.
Yeah.
They can't get a job. They can't go to attend school to obtain a higher education.
Yeah.
So what are they left to do?
Right. To clarify that, it has to be, it needs to be convicted of the attempt to sell during the time that you got like a federal grant. So if you get a federal grant and then you get a drug charge, that is the attempt to deliver or sell, that's when you're ineligible. But if you just have a drug charge period, you're still eligible. I completely agree. And I think there's a lot of things where, and I don't even want to break it down to minorities and white, because I think it's just low economic status people in general.
You're
because they treat white low economic status people the same.
I am so glad that you
You're
said
right.
that, John.
Thank you
So
for clarifying that.
to piggyback on both of you all's point, and to take it a step further, how the judicial system shakes down the poor and minorities. For example, like to your point, Judge Jackson, small traffic ticket, the traffic violation, okay? This person, they're working a minimum wage job somewhere. Okay, they get this ticket. Oh, man, I can't pay this ticket. They go to court. They try to, I don't know, if they plead no contest or plead guilty, and they have these payment plans, okay, and they can't make some of the payments. Then in turn, then there's a warrant out for your arrest. And let's just say that, they catch up with you, and now you're locked up for this $200 that you couldn't pay, and so you're in jail, which means that you're missing work, which in turn you're probably going to lose your job, and then when you get out, then you don't have the money to even live, much less pay for this ticket, and the cycle keeps going and going and going. And I know that there are a lot of small, counties and little towns and cities that actually depends on, traffic violations and citations and whatnot to fuel the economy of that small town or whatnot. Same thing goes for, these cats that are caught up in the whole child support system. Men like that. Like how they shake down poor and minorities. The judicial system shakes down the poor and the minorities to help, fund their whatever. To take a word from the Republicans, it's deplorable. I think it's really, really sad that it's all about the money.
Yeah, that I believe is the heart of most of our, if not all of our issues in America. I think even the polarization of people now with the parties, there's money involved that causes people to not go with their necessarily the ethical values. But in their mind, it's like, okay, well, I have this large funder that's funding me money. I can't turn off this stance because I'm going to lose the support and funding, and I need to be in office so I can make change and help people. So I'm going to compromise this value for this piece of time. And that's what I think the fight is not with the elected officials, it's with corporations and donors that are
Yes.
fighting each other with
So,
the money.
In the documentary 13th, they cover ALEC. I'm sure you're familiar with ALEC. No? Anyone familiar with ALEC in here? Okay, so ALEC, I'm sure when you see the logo, you'll be like, oh yeah, I have seen that. ALEC is an organization where businesses and corporations can secretly influence, the laws and whatnot. So, for example, let's say if Walmart is a member of ALEC and they, say to, Congressman Joe Schmo, hey, I want you to try to get, make it as to where my employer, if they, wear red underwear, that, I can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so some of these get, thrown into the laws through some little, loophole or whatever. And so the corporations are influencing the people in Congress to write these bills to make some things law. And I found that unethical. And I'm like, is that even legal?
Yeah.
I think Michelle Alexander spoke to that point. Well, of course, she did the new Jim Crow, and she spoke to various points in that book. However, I remember her doing a seminar recently that spoke to a similar thing to ALEC. Mm-hmm. Very much so.
I disagree with what you just said about it's not the legislators' fault. I believe it is, because the legislators, they have a choice. They have a choice to either take someone's money and make a decision. Everybody has a choice.
Okay.
We need to go out and look who we're voting for and hold our elected officials accountable for the decisions that they're making. And during the gubernatorial race, most people do not go out and vote. And
that's how Rick Perry was governor all those years?
Yes, it does.
Unfortunately.
It favors the Republican Party here in Texas. And we need to go vote in our presidential race. We need to pay attention to our local races, our down ballot races.
More so than the presidential.
Absolutely, because what's happening here locally will affect our Houston area, our Houston citizens. So we need to pay attention to that. We also, during our gubernatorial race, that's when most of the legislators that go to Austin and that are making the laws for all of us, that's when they count on us not going to vote.
Right. No, I mean, I definitely believe that elected officials are accountable. I think, but what I also think is that it's in a system that's almost set up for failure in certain senses. A lot of divisiveness amongst people, and then having, these elected officials in higher office that disagreeing with scientists on like climate change, like something that is very
abortion.
apparent.
Yes, that's ridiculous.
Well, and again, we were brought into a system of the idea of profit, right?
Yes.
With unlimited resources.
Yes.
But now we're finding out that we don't have unlimited resources. That's not the case. So it puts a rock in that, in the theory of profit first. Right now, we got to understand how to sustain what we have as a world, and then tie in the economic parts to that as well. So I think there's a lot of issues, and I believe that change is going to come from the young people.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I believe the energy that is brought from the millennials and people that are, we're the most informed generation ever. We have access to information worlds away.
But
We can
here's the
see a
problem,
revolution
though.
happening in Iran.
We have the information, but what are we doing with it? It's out there. We're more educated than ever. But where's the mobilization?
I mean, it moves so quickly, and everything is at our grasp, and it changes so quickly. It's almost like, what do you do with it once you get into your fingertips, right? Like, we have Facebook now, and so, like, I'll be really honest with you, a lot of my news comes from Facebook. I log on in the morning, I'll see that this, and this happened during the day. I'll fact check it with CNN, but everything is happening so quickly, so it's like, almost, what do you do Once you do have that at your fingertips, how do you use it properly? How do you get out there and make a difference with what you have now? You know,
Well,
I think people are still figuring that part out.
Yeah, well, I think that the other piece to that is having information, right? Having access to information. But there's another piece, and that's being empowered to understand your own ability and understand that your ability to create change. And I think that is the piece that we need more of. I believe politics in itself. You say politician, that's almost an insult to someone. Because it means, you know, you don't hold to a certain value. Somebody calls you a politician, it usually means there's like dishonesty or something. There's a negative
certain
connotation.
stigma.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Politics, government, like it gives the responses,
People a little
especially from
pause.
young people. It's like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, or you know, their hands are up. They feel like it's something that they can't fix per se, right? The system's going to be the system. The people in power want to continue to have power, and they believe it's not easy to change that. But what I've learned through my experiences and working with amazing young millennials here in Houston and across the United States, young leaders, is that, you know, there is a way to make change. One thing that we're blessed to be is in the United States, where, you know, we are under this democracy, and we do have a process in which to make changes, but we just got to understand that process more. See, they're not really teaching that in K through 12, right? Are they teaching like specifically how you vote and what the process
John,
of that is?
they're not even teaching the truth about slavery. Much less they want to change the verbiage and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't, you know, but then again, my way of thinking now is, I hate to be a pessimist when it comes to everything, but it really hurt my heart, like, to know that, okay, you have no more use for us African people, so what will we do? Oh, we'll just treat you like you're nothing still. You know, before we go, I would like to know, I'm anxious to get all of you all's opinion on what is the future of the Republican Party now that Donald J. Trump has hijacked the Grand Old Party. From here on out, after November 8th, what is going to happen to the Republican Party?
You know, in my opinion, I think that people tend to have a short-term memory loss when it comes to things like this. Like, well, we talked about Sarah Palin back when, of course, they ran against Obama. And, of course, we said, oh, my God, Republican Party has to be the stupidest, most just, you know, ridiculous party ever. And then people, you know, and then we moved on from that, right? And we didn't think about it much anymore. And we went into the next election after that. And then, you know, we have Trump. I think that elections are going to continue as they always have. I think that there is more awareness. I think that I want to hope that people are more liberal. And in Texas specifically, I'm hoping to see for the first time ever, we be blue. I would love to see that. Right now they're saying that we're a swing state. I don't know if we can really call it that yet, but definitely I'd love to see us turn blue.
I think that, I mean, in order for the Republican Party to survive, it has to evolve. I mean, common sense would tell you that. You can't disenfranchise the largest growing populations in the country and expect to have a bright future. So I believe there's going to be a lot of changes, actually. I believe there's going to be changes within the Republican Party, and I believe there are going to be changes within the Democratic Party as well. I believe that this has been a very insightful year as far as politics. Unfortunately, it's been like a TV show of some sorts or some sitcom. The extreme things that's been coming out. You know, you have, you know, hackers over here, and you got this just, you know, I can't even explain like Donald Trump per se, right? Like the stuff that comes out of his mouth, the actions, but that is a reality for America right now, and we need to pay attention to that.
Judge Jackson.
Well, at the very least, I do believe that Texas is going to turn purple. Harris County may turn blue. I'm not sure. But I do want to encourage our millennials to go out and vote, because your vote does count. Every vote, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. How can you complain about a system that you don't even participate in? You complain about the criminal justice system. It's against us. Go vote. Participate. Also, if you want to run for office, run for office. You want to make a difference, any of us in this room, all of us in this room, we make differences. We make changes. And that's because we step up to the plate.
Yes.
We believe in ourselves, and we do what we need to do. So if you sit back and you do nothing, then change is not going to happen. But I just encourage you to go exercise your voice.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for coming through. Judge Maria T. Jackson, John Locke, Samantha Joseph. I appreciate you all's time.
Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you,
Thank
KG.
you. Would like to plug in, there's having a walk the vote,